And now he's insulting people. Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL live before lock. Showdown action. Philadelphia Eagles, Atlanta Falcons. We got a good one today. No AJ Brown. By the way, Matt, I don't know if you noticed, Matt Gajewski with me, Dave Loughran here. Happy to have you with us. We have doubleheader Monday Night Football next week.
I did not know that. Who do we have?
Oh, you're gonna like this. Bengals
Carolina?
at no, close. Bengals at home hosting the Commanders.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Bills hosting the Jags.
Oh, we can get rid of the Bills. I want more greasy teams. Sub in the Panthers, and then I'm all in.
Dude, the Andy Dalton. Can you believe they did that?
Not really.
Me neither. Here's my, I get that. I think you look at Dave Canales and this guy's like, yo, I don't want to be a one and done coach because my quarterback sucks. But at the same time, it's like, this was already supposed to be a lost season. So my only thinking is that, well, we know Bryce Young was bad. I watched those games. That Bryce Young was so bad that everyone in the locker room and everyone in the organization is like, look, we can't do another 15 weeks of this.
Apparently, the evaluation is complete, and I don't know how much more you need to see. The only thing I think you could argue with in favor of Bryce Young is it's been 2 games with reasonable weapons. Last year was a disaster. So you bring in Johnson. I don't know, man. He hasn't played with Brooks. It's still not good around him, but you can't argue with the 2 games that we've seen. The only argument you can make is it's not been a long enough leash with better weapons, but I don't know, man. That's even a stretch to me.
No, he's outright bad. I'm not really sure there's any. I don't think there's I don't think you can sugarcoat this, to be honest with you. I don't think it's doable. Anyway, you ready to talk some Monday Night Football?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Hey, happy to have you guys with us as always. Take a single second, atone for your sins this wonderful Monday evening. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Goes a long way for us. And as always, we appreciate you guys in advance. Sorry, I'm not looking up because I'm just getting some things set up here, but I think we are good to go. You and I did a show this morning, and we didn't talk a ton about one guy here. I'll get to these super chats in just 1 second. I appreciate you guys. I did not miss them. I'm kind of coming around on Tyler Algier today.
Are you? That is not what I was expecting you to say.
I
thought you were going to talk some Paris Campbell or something.
No, I mean, that seems even more gross than, because, Zach Robinson, after that game, offensive coordinator for the Falcons, ugly game. They go up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just destroyed their offensive line. They couldn't get a damn thing going. Bijan played all the snaps. I think Algier had 3 carries or something. That was it. But after the game, you had Robinson being like, look, it's a fluid situation. It's game by game. The backfield split is still up in the air. So that might be bullshit, or it might, Tyler Algier is not that bad of a backup. Maybe they don't want to give Bijan every single touch like they did in week 1. I do have a little bit of interest there today. Just give it. Here's the thing. He has no ownership at all. Nobody at all is going to Tyler Algier. So I think I'm starting to warm up on him a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't really consider that he might actually be telling the truth, but because I did see that, but I just completely wrote it off as, I don't know.
If this was not a 1-game slate, I wouldn't have even brought his name up to you. I wouldn't have even brought any of that up, You
and I like Saquon Barkley quite a bit. So honestly, that coach speak, if it means something, means more to me when deciding between those players than wanting to really play Algier by himself. He's also still not cheap. He's in the price range of the defenses. We have other players in that price range, like Dotson, that are going to be what I think in better opportunity spots, but it's a fluid situation. If you think that is the case, you should certainly bump down Bijan and bump up Algier. Did you run away? I'm curious. In the Sims, did you try really bumping Algier and see what it took to get him? Because you don't get much of him otherwise.
I gave
By curiosity.
Matter of fact, I did. And so right now, and I only bumped him a tiny bit. I gave him a very small boost. Okay. And I'll tell you what I have right now. Very small boost. And I got, let me just get to the flex.
I just looked without doing any boost.
20%.
I got 8% without doing anything, which is higher than I thought I was going to be, honestly.
Yeah. Small boost, 20%. All of it in the flex, by the way. I have zero Tyler Algier in the captain spot, which doesn't surprise me and doesn't concern me.
But, so did you come down on like Jake Elliott then? Or like he's the most owned guy having there? I guess I have 25% Atlanta defense. Maybe that's a more natural place to come down. Or maybe Ray McLeod. Those are the kind of guys in that range.
I have less than 10% McLeod.
Okay. Yeah, I have 18 without doing much to this.
So that might be where we're at. That's probably the difference right there. Because if you're
I have no problem making that swap. I do not like Ray McLeod.
You're not a fan. The fact that he was targeted on 37% of the routes he ran last week suggests that you should hit some under props on that too. But
yeah, that just made me upset, and I think it's clouding my judgment tonight.
you're just being emotional about it. I have a lot of Jalen Hurts is my highest owned flex right now and my highest owned captain.
That is the same with me right now, but I have a lot of him in captain. It's only barely a split in flex. Right now I have a lot of Bijan in flex, but I'm trying actively to bridge that gap between him and Saquon.
Even though Jalen Hurts didn't score last week, and I mentioned to you this morning, no one has more rushing touchdowns since 2021 than Hurts. I'm talking running backs too. Like he has more than Derrick Henry, more than anybody else. Even though he didn't score last week, and we liked Barkley, there's still an overreaction to Barkley's 3 touchdowns and Hurts not get like Barkley's minus 190 to score today, and Hurts is plus 105 in some spots, plus money to score a touchdown in this spot. So I'm really not worried about that at all. And you would think that this is a relatively high scoring game. The Eagles have a buzzsaw of an offense, but also a defense that has a lot of leaks as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. The total in the game is good. They're sizable favorites. The touchdown prop stuff doesn't really make any sense to me. We still saw them use the QB sneak stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go according to plan, but they tried it 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and once was a fumbled snap, right? And he just had
that's not something you would predict to happen a lot.
So Hurts just looks good.
I agree. I think
there's a lot of people. You and I talked about it last week. He kind of had a floor game with 2 interceptions and a lost fumble, and still had what, almost 20 fantasy points?
Yeah, he was at like 19.6 in one of the worst outings I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, terrible. And they still scored 34. So it's just it's going to be one of those difficult spots to get away from. When you look at Barkley, how comfortable are you getting him in the captain and the flex? And by the way, guys, we'll go around to everything here and answer all of your questions. Do it a little bit differently than we do in the morning, but the idea here is to get you out of this show with us touching on literally every player and every type of build within the next 45 minutes, because otherwise we're not doing you any favors. But with Barkley, how comfortable are you getting a lot of him at captain?
I'm very comfortable. I think more comfortable than the field. He's coming in with less ownership than Bijan. All his props are nearly identical to Bijan. So it's just not adding up mathematically. The $200 you save by going down doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Even with the multi-touchdown game last week, it seems that the field is still preferring Bijan over Saquon. And the only difference I see between them is the QB sneak stuff.
Yeah.
You could honestly maybe argue the coach speak stuff works against Bijan in this situation too, if you believe the validity of that. I'm still a little shaky. I would rather see it than just trust it blindly. But whether it's true or not, it works in Saquon's favor, if it is true.
It definitely works in Saquon's favor, but I keep coming back to this. Like, you look at Saquon Barkley last week, 24 carries, 2 receptions, a receiving touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Forget about the touchdowns, but just, think about the workload that he saw, 26 total touches. And he was on the field for 80% of snaps. Now, you had Bijan Robinson on the field for 89% of snaps. He ended up getting 18 carries and 5 targets, 23 touches, 23 looks. They were basically the same player from a volume standpoint and from a snap share standpoint, right? The only difference is one of them is a favorite today, but to your point, one of them also has a quarterback who can run things in.
But one of them does have coach speak working against him too, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
another hole you could poke. But
Also,
I don't think. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, would you be shocked? Because we didn't see goal line situations last week. Would you be shocked if Algier just got goal line opportunities?
No, Bijan failed last week. He had like a 3.5 yards per carry. Whether you want to blame that on the offensive line, I think they definitely shoulder a large majority of that blame. Whatever it was, it didn't work. So I'm not surprised they're talking about changes, and I wouldn't be surprised if Algier plays a little more than we think. Algier's like 240 pounds. If you were going to put a goal line back out there, he would make more sense than Bijan, just solely based on that.
That's what I'm saying, though, is
yeah,
I'm not saying he will, but we also don't know. Put it this way, there were no goal line opportunities last week against Pittsburgh, right? There weren't. They had none. Bijan had a touch inside the 10. That was it. And then it was what, Kyle Pitts, I think. But
yeah, he caught the broken coverage touchdown.
Right. They didn't have any goal line looks. What if they use, I don't know. That's the only reason I'm saying maybe Algier is at least a little bit more interesting than I thought he was this morning. Okay, would you go, who do you like more in this range? This will be fun. I'm going to go like 2,800 up to 4K. Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3. If you include Falcons defense, there's 5, but let's just go with the 4 actual skill players here. Because Falcons defense has to fit a build. Kenny Gainwell, 2,800. Ray McLeod, 3,000. You love him. Tyler Algier, 3,600. And Jahan Dotson without A.J. Brown at 4K.
My favorite would be Dotson. Out of the players with projectable workloads, I think he's the safest. You would think he's the wide receiver 2, probably pass catcher 3 or 4 behind Saquon and Goddard. Ray McLeod, I'm not buying the 7 target game. I still think he's behind Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Pitts, and probably Bijan. So at best, I think you could put him at 5. Then the running backs, I would rather play Algier than Gainwell. I think with the coach speak, there's a chance he's on the field a little more. Gainwell, I mean, he ceded some work to Shipley. You talked about his snaps this morning. Saquon came off the field for a brief period of time. Not sure how many snaps exactly, but that sort of artificially inflated the raw snap count for Gainwell. He's my least favorite, despite being the cheapest of this range you specified.
If you had to project a snap share for Gainwell today, I mean, I would think anywhere from 10 to 20%. I'd put him anywhere from 10 to 20%. But the thing is, Barkley can pass block, so there aren't a ton of reasons to get him off the field.
I would put him at like 8%.
I'm trying to not overthink this. Like maybe they don't want to give Barkley 90+% of snaps every week because he has a history of injury. He also has a history of playing on a dog shit field, right? At what is it, MetLife?
Yeah, behind a dog shit offensive line.
It's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah. So maybe he has something working for him here, but you put him, okay, so you're saying like 8 to 10 range?
Yeah, because Shipley's probably going to play like 2%.
True. He played 5% last week. Yeah.
Shipley's better than Gainwell. I can't wait till he overtakes him.
You like Will Shipley, huh?
Yeah, Will Shipley was awesome in college. #1 running back recruit. Had a stellar freshman season behind Clemson's offensive line before they all graduated. And Dabo decided not to recruit, so then he kind of got stuffed behind 2 terrible O-lines his final 2 seasons. But he was an awesome pass catcher, and he was always great at the efficiency stuff, yards after contact per attempt, forced missed tackles. I think he went underdrafted because of where he chose to go to school. Hyper athletic, too. He had a good combine.
Yeah, I know. Devonta played 100% of snaps last week, 100%. Was heavily used down the stretch when they needed to get those points late in the game. Brown played 95. He's out. Jahan Dotson 42, but he was targeted once on 24 routes. So it wasn't a good, like they clearly, look, they brought him on. We talked about it less than a month ago, 3.5 weeks ago, maybe. And they're bringing him along slowly. They had no need to use him either. That's what's kind of fascinating about this spot with Dotson. They had no need to use him. You had AJ Brown, who had a 29.5% target share in week 1. Devonta Smith wasn't far behind him. Barkley touched the ball 26 times. And then Goddard is your de facto kind of number 3 pass catcher that you're always going to get 4, 5, 6 targets to a game when those guys are healthy. So the way I see it is Devonta is the number 1. I would not be at all surprised though. And people don't like this. People hate Dallas Goedert. I kind of don't blame him for it because he lets people down quite often. But AJ Brown played every game last year. Devonta Smith played all but 1 game in the regular season last year. Dallas Goedert, to me, and you even said it this morning, you could see Dallas Goedert playing close to all of the snaps in this game. If that's the case, I think, okay, who do you look towards first? Dallas Goedert or Jahan Dotson? I think the rapport that Hurts has with Goddard, and I just think Goddard is the clear number 2 in this passing offense, and I don't think it's particularly close tonight.
100% agree. Dotson hasn't even been here a month. Is he even capable of being on the field for a full snap share? Can the coaching staff, can they put him out there for a full complement of snaps? I don't know the answer to that either, but it's not very likely in my opinion. Usually those things take a while. And he's also a questionable talent. I think we're going to see more 12 personnel tonight. And in certain packages, you might even just see Dotson off the field for players like Britton Covey. Johnny Wilson is active, so he's going to have a small package of plays, I imagine, as well. But I think we're going to see a ton of 12, and he was already outsnapped by Grant Calcaterra in the first game, and that was with, more receiving competition. Whether he's out there more snaps or not, I'm just not sure that targets per route run increases significantly. You mentioned the 1 target on, 24 routes? That's pitiful. And I don't think it's definitely going to be higher for a guy like Goddard.
For sure. Einsteinium always with the great questions. He says, Laffy, what would an Atlanta win look like? All right. So the obvious answer is, I don't know. But to me, Matt, to me, the Atlanta win looks like a high scoring game. That I just have a tough time seeing Atlanta winning a low scoring contest in Philadelphia today.
I agree with you, especially because Philly's defense is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
This is the time of year I think you want to face Philly because everyone on their defensive side of 1 or 2 guys is a first or a second year player. And they were exposed a little bit in week 1. You're playing with a ton of rookies and a ton of second year guys, some of whom were hurt last year. So I think this is the time you want to play Philly, not in week 15 when these guys have a little more experience. So for that reason, I agree with you. I think Atlanta would put up some points in those situations. And also, Atlanta just ran out the worst possible game plan for week 1.
Yeah.
I don't think it could possibly be any worse.
Their game plan was don't target your number 1 receiver.
I don't know what their game plan was.
I don't know, man. And they couldn't protect Cousins either. It's funny. The offensive line on paper looks good. I talked about it a lot throughout the summer. This is supposed to be a good offensive line. Tonight will be a test as well. We'll see. Johnny Wilson's active, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he'd play. I do wonder, do they use this guy in goal to go situations? Do they use him in the end zone? He's 6'6". He's a behemoth.
I think you have to. I would. I think there's going to be certain packages for him on the field as well, just in normal down and distance situations too. He's an alien, man. He creates very unique mismatches. You need to be very careful with how you defend him because for as big as he is, he doesn't actually have tight end speed or something like that. He's a legitimate wide receiver. He can beat you over the top. He can outrun slower safeties, linebackers. So you can't just put size on him. He creates very unique mismatches. Now he's a rookie. Who knows how much he plays? He got 10 snaps in the first game, but he'll be out there at certain points. And when he is, he's the kind of player where you would expect there to be certain plays drawn up for him. Otherwise, why would he be out there?
Is he the mega mind genius play, as Ben would say, over if you're not playing Jahan Dotson? You go, all right, well, AJ Brown is out. What if Jahan Dotson can't handle a full or won't handle a full workload And Johnny Wilson ends up playing like, 40% of snaps in this game, and they kind of just split because I don't think Paris Campbell, who they elevated from the practice squad, I don't see him getting a ton of work, if any at all. Maybe a little bit, but what if Johnny Wilson just happens to get work in this game because they want somebody outside?
They don't have any other players that profile as outside receivers
Right.
other than him.
Right.
Dotson's done it, but that's not what his best skill set is. You prefer him in the slot. Covey is a slot only player. He's basically a kick returner, punt returner who's going to have to play some offensive snaps. And that's Paris Campbell's best role too. He's a gadget guy by trade. Wilson's the only one that profiles as a true boundary X. So when you're in two tight situations with Goddard, Calcaterra, who probably lines up as a big slot, you might just see more Johnny Wilson by default. I would agree with the, Ben Raza Megamind play if he wasn't $200. That's what makes me think it doesn't honestly matter that much what he does. If he catches 2 balls at $200,
Wilson's 1,000. Are you talking about
1,000? Campbell's 200.
Campbell's 200, but 1,000. I mean, that's not that big of a difference from 200. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I think at that price, he doesn't need a lot more than 2 or 3 catches if the studs do what they're supposed to.
For what it's worth, Dotson lined up lined up wide 81% of the time last game. So
he did a lot in Washington too, but
yeah,
there's a ton of criticism for how he was deployed with that being a failure to maximize his skill set, which I think is true. He's not a big receiver, and he's been a constant failure when he's had to play outside.
Would you be shocked though if they just kind of gave Wilson? I don't know. Wilson to me is more interesting than Dotson because Wilson was questionable all day, right? He's getting no ownership. Dotson's going to be owned. Dotson's going to be, probably 25, probably a quarter of the field's going to own Jahan Dotson in the flex spot. You're probably going to have single digit ownership on Johnny Wilson today.
Yeah, that is tantalizing. I just looked at what I got in the Sims and it was only 4.5%, 5%. I'm going to be looking to increase that right now.
Right? Just you're playing the luck game anyway when it comes to these cheap guys. And has Dotson shown us we got 24 routes run from Dotson last week and he had 1 target. I'm not saying he doesn't get targeted more today. Naturally, you kind of have to be without your leading receiver who had a 30% target share in week 1. I get all that, but I don't think it means that he's the definitive 90% of snaps guy this week. I really don't. Maybe he is, but it's not a guarantee.
I agree with that 100%. It's also week 2. And now we have a 1-game sample that's sort of artificial. Week 1, week 2, these are the times of year where we have the least certainty on what to project for these players. And then you just took a star NFL receiver, a Pro Bowler perennially, and removed him from the offense. And now we're trying to decipher between day 3 rookies and Johnny Wilson versus players that were traded for less than a month ago versus guys that are pure special teams, or do they just run 12 personnel? So it's a very tricky situation to parse. And sometimes when you get situations like this, just assuming that the field is wrong can pay big dividends if they actually are wrong, because everyone's guessing.
Spot on. That's what, everyone's guessing. We are too, but we're guessing for outcomes that people put it this way. We could see this outcome being more likely than the ownership would suggest. It's that simple.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's hit some super chats. Let me go back to the top here. By the way, appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. If you haven't done so yet, again, just tap that thumbs up. What are we at 196? We got 2,000 people here. Takes a single second. Chris Williams, as always, appreciate you, brother. Giving a shout out to the team. Atone, that's right. Oh, perfect timing. Atone for the sins. Hit that thumbs up. Bring yourself some good karma, and FYI, I know it's not y'all, it's YouTube, but it's not letting us gift memberships. Yeah, that's got to be a YouTube thing. By the way, Jordan, we turned did we turn ads off for these live shows? Yeah, we turned ads off. YouTube defaults back to it and doesn't even alert you. We've always tried to have no ads on for our live shows for you guys. It's not worth it to us. It's not worth it for you. So they've been off. Hopefully you've noticed that. Mike H, Mike with a Y, $20 super chat. Thank you, sir. It's nights like this I'm willing to be a bit crazy, maybe even donate to the masses to take a chance to win big. I'm higher on Falcons, but not to a point. It's stupid. Good. Wait, but not to a point. It's stupid. Good luck, y'all. Yeah, you too, Mike. Dan, tied for first with 4 others in the second iteration of the $3.20 max last night for a cool 2,100. Thanks as all to the thanks to always to the hosts, and love the stochastic tools. Yeah, Matt, we had people. We had a 10K yesterday, a 5K, a 21 here. I think we might have even had a 50K yesterday. The NFL tools are doing exactly what we set out for them to do.
Yeah, they've been good at that for 2 years now. Last year, we had a ton of success too, and all we've done in the offseason is innovate on them. So expecting that success to continue. And I was glad a lot of people got to, get their foot in the door with the $1 promo and had some success. So that was very good to see.
Hell yeah, man. Also, the Showdown sims have just been amazing. Ever since we started.
I can speak from experience. It's really easy to mess up if you don't have sims. You can really, really outsmart yourself.
In Showdowns without question. Yeah, we've done it. Yeah, we've done it many times. Link in the description and chat if you guys want to check them out too. We narrowed it down to one link. So you click that link and you'll see every different subscription for weekly or for monthly. Make your life way easier so you can compare and contrast every tool. What do I need? Am I a serious player? Am I trying to be super serious? Am I, a dedicated casual? Or do I just want something to make my lineups better, but I'm not too worried about it? We totally revamped everything. So in case you missed it last year or something earlier this year, just so you know, we have all new subscriptions, 4 different types, super easy to figure out and digest and get in there if you haven't done so yet. And we'll make a lineup with the single lineup sim, which I know we all love that tool in a little bit. Goody with a super chat. Sims Max archetype drastically changes ROI. Why is that? Also, what archetype would you guys consider a $20 max on? So, what archetype, Matt, he's talking about, like if you're going marquee, low stakes, high stakes, it changes ROI because it's changing. It's the whole contest pool is going to be different, Matt, for the archetype that you're choosing. Like if it's super low stakes or super high stakes.
Yeah, the tools on the back end are trying to predict the field you're playing against.
Mhm.
Some fields are going to be sharper than others. For example, if you're playing like the 5-5-5, most of the people in that contest are going to be pretty good, pretty sharp. The ownership there is going to look much different than the 50-cent mini-max, where things are going to be much weaker. So that's why you get different ROIs. You're just playing against a different set of lineups, and it changes the entire calculation.
Big time. So that's why. And to answer your question, what did he say? Also, what archetype would you guys consider a $20 3 max or $20 3 max on DK? Marquee. Like,
yeah, I think marquee or maybe the one higher than that. I'm not sure. You didn't mention how big the field is in that one. I'm guessing it's a little smaller.
True. Even the $3 play action, I think, is marquee because you're not limited. Like, if depending on your badge type or whatever, it doesn't matter. Anybody can enter that. So, like, it's softer from a certain perspective. Like the far bottom is soft, but you also have all of the sharp players in there as well.
Yeah, 100% agree on that.
All right, where were we at? Oh, I know. Anybody else for Philly? I think we've done I think because Devontae Smith, to me, I'm not sure he really needs us to talk all that much about Devontae Smith. Like he's going to be out there for every play. He's going to be the leading target guy, top option on this team tonight.
I'm over the field in both captain and flex, and captain is very slight. In flex, it is about 9% more than what we're projecting for his flex ownership. So love Devontae Smith. You can't really go wrong. The target share should push 30% tonight. The only other guy I'll mention is Calcaterra. He played a ton in their first game. They used 12 personnel a lot. He was mainly a blocker, but he still ran 12 routes, and now you are going to see him play, I think, presumably at least the same amount of snaps, if not more. And he was at 36 or 76 snaps. And I'll fall back on like his college production. This was an excellent receiver at SMU. I don't think he's just like a stone hands blocker out there. He was a good athlete and he lined up out wide in the slot at times. He's someone I think that's sneaking a little under the radar if you're playing the very large field stuff.
Without question. Him and Johnny Wilson. You know, the fun part about a slate like this is we don't know who the guy is going to actually be, right? We don't actually know who it's going to be.
His
replacing
price is bad too. So, I mean, I don't think you really need to play much to get over the field.
no. But what I'm saying is you don't know who's going to be replacing the 30% target share guy. Like, of course, the distribution of targets goes to Devontae Smith first. He gets the first crack, Dallas Goedert. But beyond that, it's still a lot of targets. Where do they go to? And, my guess is probably as good as yours. So let's play for the uncertainty, Matt.
That's what I'm doing. I've been boosting Calcaterra. I've been boosting some of these greasy guys, Johnny Wilson. So we're going to see how it plays out. But honestly, all that really means so far, and what I'm gathering, is that I'm coming in a little lower on like Ray McLeod and those players. And I'm kind of happy I'm not at like 40% Ray McLeod, which is near where
Kind
I
of
started.
happy. I'm sure you're ecstatic. I'm sure.
We can put in any cheap receiver that you want in there. Dotson you could include in there as well.
I'm underweight on Dotson right now. I am.
Me too.
I'm overweight on Johnny Wilson. I just reran, and I'm overweight on Johnny Wilson for sure.
Where are you at? I'm at 8% right now, so very slightly over, but I want to bring that up a little bit, I think.
I am at, hold on. $20. And I'm totally okay with getting 20% Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problem with that either.
Yeah. Let's talk Falcons. All right. Any other super chats? Now we're good. Okay. Anyway, I saw some people talking about the pronunciation of Calcaterra in there.
Oh, am I wrong, or was Eric actually right?
I mean, I don't know. I went to Football Reference earlier today when we were talking.
Yeah.
And it's Calcaterra.
What are they saying in chat?
Unless Pro Football Reference got it wrong, but they're generally quite reliable. I think you got it right.
Eric Lindquist said something else that was wild. I didn't even know who he was talking about.
Nah, Eric's just flat out wrong. Leave him in Europe, Matt. Leave him in Europe.
Okay.
He's wrong. Oh, okay. So Connor, what's up, Connor? Connor was saying that Eric was basically pronouncing it like he was a Frenchman.
He was. I did French, Italian, something like that. I'm not kidding when I had to like ask him who he was talking about. I don't know why he came up on Live Before Lock, but I was like, who in the world are we talking about?
Oh, that's good stuff. That's too good. All right. Look at this. John Clark tweeted that Britton Covey is lining up outside with Devonta Smith in the slot during warmups.
Okay. I'm going to boost him, but also from a fan experience, you know what kind of a kamikaze maniac Britton Covey is. How fun would it be if he played 100% of snaps?
Oh my God. I love that you used the word kamikaze. Did we use that word?
I think I stole it from you.
I think my father-in-law is the one that would call him a kamikaze when we would watch the games, because he would return kicks. He wouldn't care who, like, he's insane. That would be so great. So great. If we could see him go nuts.
He's so small and he has no regard for his own life.
Reckless abandon.
Reckless, runs as fast as he possibly can into whomever is coming. It would be so fun if he's out there more. I don't buy it that he's going to have a full snap share, but I'm going to at least boost it that. I mean, warmups, first team warmups is important.
Absolutely. Okay. What do you think about just this, Matt? Like, what do you think about just boosting Covey a little bit, boosting Wilson a little bit, like just trying to get equal, maybe not equal, but just make sure you have some exposure to all of these guys.
That's what I'm doing right now. I think it's going to take quite a bit to get Covey, but we just don't know, man.
I think it is. What do we have him projected at? We have him projected pretty low, but that doesn't surprise me because he's never been a guy he's been used in the return game.
Yeah, we weren't expecting him to line up with the first team.
Yeah, right.
He
I don't
has
know.
been with the team longer, I'll say that.
He has. Would you boost projection or just boost the ROI on the lineups?
There's a fire truck going past my apartment. I apologize, everyone. I live right by a.
You can't even hear it, dude. Keep going. You're good.
All right, I was just trying to boost the ROI with him, and it took a lot to get anything. So now I think I'm just going to reset that and then boost his projection a little bit.
I boosted his projection a little bit. I brought Jahan Dotson down a little bit.
Yeah, that's, I think, the better way to do it. Otherwise, like, it's very, very hard to get him with the 1.83 projection we had.
Very difficult. But if that is the case, and he's actually, what if Johnny Wilson's just active and he's not going to play much? Like that's the other thing. It's like coming with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, you never know. You truly never know with hamstrings. And also, like, what kind of decoy might he be out there?
Right.
Because you actually have to pay attention to him. It's not, I know his talent level is not anything near AJ Brown, but when he's on the field, it's not like you can just ignore the 6'7" monster of a human being who actually has very good athleticism, So I'm still interested in Wilson. Even if it is just a couple snaps out there, the uncertainty is worth it to me. Decoy, no decoy, I'm still going to take some shots because of that talent.
So yeah. And I'll take some shots on Britton Covey because I think neither of us are convinced that Jahan Dotson. By the way, I'm going to have Jahan Dotson, but it's a showdown slate. I don't want to be on an island with a ton of Dotson and nobody else. And it turns out that he has 2 targets. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, talk to me about the Atlanta Falcons here. So last week was a disaster, as we know. We still got plenty of time to get through all of this. So last week was terrible. The offensive line couldn't block well. He couldn't throw off his back foot with that surgically repaired Achilles. I'm pretty sure that I have very little Cousins. And
I had
usually,
little too.
yeah, usually this, but like usually every time you play Showdown, I have 24% Cousins. Usually I'm always getting to quarterbacks in Showdown. I'm just getting a lot of Hurts today.
I'm getting a lot of Hurts. And plus you have 2 of the best running backs in football. So a lot of that is going to them. And Cousins doesn't run whatsoever, so he needs to throw to get you any sort of ceiling in the offense. So I'm not really that surprised to see this.
How much are you getting of Drake right now?
Drake London?
Yeah.
Right now, stuck on Paris Campbell, excuse me. Right now I have Drake London 37%, 6% above the field in flex. And captain, I'm way lower though. Captain, I'm like 7% below the field.
Okay. I have very little Drake London at captain, but I do have around 40% in the flex.
That's about me too.
Okay. By the way, that subtle boost to Britton Covey did the job.
What did you get to now? Oh yeah, wow.
What did you get to?
17%. I don't want that much. I only gave him a point.
What?
I only gave him a point too.
Yeah, I gave him a 1.5 and got to 25.
Are you going to leave it?
I think so. I honestly might. What is Britton Covey's ownership going to be? Seriously, what's his ownership going to be at? Like 3%? 2%?
He might be a 1%er on a slate like this, which is crazy.
I wouldn't recommend anyone else do this, obviously, but yeah, I think I'll probably be vastly over the field on Britton Covey. You do not need, by the way, guys, if you're using the Sims tool, I'm going to actually bring him down a little bit here. Full disclosure, you do not need to boost Britton Covey a ton.
I boosted him a point and it went from 0 to nearly 17%. 1 point.
Yeah. Yeah, this is This is a problem.
That's crazy though. Think about this. We were expecting him to play minimal snaps. If he plays a little bit more than we're expecting, and that's what 1 point in projection does at his ownership.
That is a great point. That is a really good point. Yeah, right. If we're projecting them to play what, 5% of offensive snaps and he ends up playing a ton, or not even, no, I'm sorry, not even a ton. Like
maybe he plays like
25% of snaps. Yeah, exactly. 25% of snaps.
Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of upside there that I didn't really realize until I just did this.
Also, straight kamikaze, like you said. So it's going to be fun.
It's going to be really fun. That guy's awesome.
Do you think it's possible they actually use him out? I mean, why would he line up outside in warmups?
That's what I'm saying. That actually means something. It's not like we're throwing hurt AJ Brown out there only to have him be a decoy. And I mean, it's not like other teams are going to dedicate coverage to Burton Covey. I think he's actually going to line up out there some. It's going to be a rotation. Don't expect like 90% of snaps or something. Expect Wilson and Dotson, but he, outside of Goddard and Devontae Smith, he's been with the team longer than any of these other receivers.
I know.
That's wild.
Bubba Gump says, okay, move on. It's kind of important, man. It's just kind of important. Look, okay, so if we're talking about Atlanta, Jack Adams said they did report Dotson was taking those reps too. Yeah, because Devontae was in the slot.
Yeah, but we expect Dotson to be out there. That's what
projection. I'm saying. They had 2 outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still surprising. But anyway, yeah, I'm playing a little bit more than I was, is the whole bottom line.
Yep. Atlanta to me isn't even that. There's so much less to talk about here. Philly's the one that should consume the whole show. Because, I mean, not the whole show, obviously, but like Drake London played 100% of snaps. I'd be shocked if they didn't try and get him more involved. Quinyon Mitchell, acquitted himself well in his first game, but he was also making a few mistakes. You're the one that said it this morning. They have a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent, but a lot of young guys as well. Vic Fangio also only his second game as the DC for this team. So, there were 824 yards of offense in that Brazil game between the Eagles and Packers. Packers had 414 yards. Eagles had 410. That game had a lot of points. So I'm not saying that's going to be the case guaranteed tonight. Obviously not. It's a 46.5 point total, but Drake London, Bijan Robinson, clearly my two. Paul Newman said, don't be fooled. Barkley will get 10 plus targets. Well, that would be insane. If you think Barkley's getting 10 plus targets, you should go bet his all over prop ladder it as high as you can right now, because I guarantee there's massive plus money on what you're talking about. Anyway, Atlanta, Matt, if you were to break down the top guys, how would you do it? Then we can talk Algier and your favorite Ray McLeod. I like Darnell Mooney though, by the way.
I like Darnell Mooney too. I would rather go up to London or down to Mooney if playing these Atlanta guys. And I am. Those are the guys I'll be the most overweight to. Pitts, I have a little less interest in. He's kind of log jammed in that mid-price range. And I think he's the one Atlanta player that's a bit overpriced considering his role. 3 targets, but outside of that rookie season he's never really been a focal point in any offense. And I know it was Arthur Smith for a long time, but it is pretty disheartening to see him with the exact same role in the first game back. London, I don't know how you get to. He's been efficient the whole time he's been in the NFL. And his price actually took a dock from DraftKings, whereas Pitts remained really high up in pricing. So I'd rather find 1,000, or I'd rather just go down to Mooney, who please just be targeted more than Ray McLeod. If you're going to do anything, Zach Robinson, that's first thing you should do.
What are the chances that Ray McLeod sees another 7 target game today?
Lower than Jordan Klein returning to Europe. Low. The thing with Ray McLeod is that his snaps were really low. And we talked about it was what, a 30%, 38% like targets per route run, which is bananas.
37%, yep. He had
The
7
highest,
targets on 19 routes run.
yeah, that's bananas. That's extremely high. Like the best players in the NFL are at like 30%. And I don't think he's become an alpha overnight. So I think we're still going to see Ray McLeod exiting the field when they go in 12. Like Charlie Warner's going to come on the field for a package of plays at his expense because Mooney's not coming off and neither is Drake London. So I'm not buying the 7 targets. In fact, trying to sell pretty hard and then buy low on the other Atlanta pass catchers that we believe are better, in my opinion. Mainly Drake London, Darnell Mooney, number 2 for me. Pitts would be number 3.
And to your point, sorry, just uploading these lineups here. To your point, I might feel differently if they won last week, right? Like they won last week and everything worked, but they didn't win last week and everything did not work, right? They scored, what was it, 10 points or something? They stalled out on every drive. So if you're a new offensive coordinator in Zach Robinson, you're a new head coach in Raheem Morris, do you stick with the same game plan that had you shitting the bed in week 1? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can either. I still have a lot of faith in Robinson, from his days in Cincinnati, calling pretty good offenses there. He did have good personnel, so that should be mentioned as well. But I mean, he was about as far away from maximizing that talent as you can be. And I'm not anything close to an NFL play caller, but it doesn't take a genius to see what they were doing wasn't working.
Absolutely. Kickers and defense here. Actually, is there anybody else for Atlanta? I don't want to just gloss over this, but it's just so much of it's one team is like, all right, everyone's healthy. We saw last week. We know what we know left from last week. And it's mostly just, does Ray McLeod continue to pace the offense? And the very good possibility, the answer to that is no. Just to revisit this one more time, because there were probably a lot of people who were not with us early on. What do you think? What do you think if you had to project snap share for Algier and Bijan Robinson? Where would you put it?
80 to 85 for Bijan, 15 to 20 for Algier.
Okay. So actually a higher split for Algier than Kenny Gainwell, though.
I think so, largely just because Gainwell will give a few snaps to Shipley. Algier doesn't have anyone else that they're going to be giving the ball to.
I think 80-20.
Yeah, I was right in that range.
Yep, I'm with you. I think Algier's used a little bit more than he was last week.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Not the bell cow, of course, but I think he's used a little bit more than he was last week. Kickers profile really well for us today, too. If you're looking at the Sims tool, then Jordan can pull that up. Jordan, if you want to pull exposures up from the run that we did on the Sims tool. Again, guys, it's Monday, but if you want to jump in, you're getting just, it's probably too late right now, but bookmark the link in the description. You have Thursday, Sunday, every slate too. I'm talking literally, when I say every slate, I mean every showdown slate, like every single slate for a Sunday, for a Thursday, for Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, every showdown Sunday slate, but a Monday doubleheader. So if you're like, hey, I've been looking to jump in, waiting for the right time, you're getting the Monday doubleheader. So that means, and they don't start at the same time either. So you got like the Monday 7:30, 8:15, play the 2-game slate, then play the showdown slate. And we've got tools for all of it, be it ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool. Obviously the crown jewels, right? The pre-contest sim, the late swap tool, the post-contest sim, and the brand new single lineup sim where you can hand build your lineups and get instant feedback, get the simmed ROI out on every single one of those lineups you build, and access to the premium Discord, which you should absolutely jump into if you're signing up. But yeah, whether you're looking to take it seriously, semi-seriously, casually, we got something for literally everybody out there. So jump in and make sure to say what's up in the Discord. Make your presence known. Maximize the entire subscription while you're here for sure. But yeah, Jake Elliott's popping for me. And I get it.
He's popping for me too, a ton.
I get it though. Like I have no issues with Jake Elliott tonight at all. I have no issues with Matt Younghoe Koo.
We just talked about a lot of players that have very shaky roles, and we were trying to parse between them. Kickers don't have shaky roles. Young Wei Koo is perplexingly more expensive than Jake Elliott, despite being a near touchdown underdog. I'll never understand that, but might make him a good contrarian play. And Elliott, I think, is the very clear kicker you want in any sort of small field contest. I would play him in large field too. Generally, kickers come in a little bit under-owned.
Hey, Brandon Wagner, appreciate it, man. $10 super chat. Just started messing with pick six. Is going for 6 picks a bad play? Past few slates I've gone for 6 and it seems outrageous. What's your go-to? Yeah, 100% deposit match, 2 up to $100 and pick 6 credits over there. I can't play pick 6 in PA, but I know whenever I see Eric Lindquist in California, because he's always dropping them in the Discord, Matt, he's usually not going with the full 6 card.
I don't play pick 6 either, so I'm not sure.
Me neither. But I can tell you that I can't in PA, but Lindquist always does. And he's always dropping in like the 3 or 4s. So I would hit him up, Brandon. I'm sure he'd be happy to help you out. Michael Martinez. Minnesota made Cousins look good, like with Darnold. We're about to find out, Matt. We're about to. I mean, he's got good weapons. He's got a good arsenal. You got to have good play calling, but
you for sure do. We are about to find out.
How about defenses?
Philly is far more interesting to me with Jalen Carter and their pass rush after what we just saw Pittsburgh do to Atlanta.
Sure.
And maybe this is overreacting, man. Maybe I'm overreacting because Pittsburgh has an awesome pass rush, very good defensive line. I thought Atlanta was going to be decent on the O-line at the beginning of the year, but that was egregious. And maybe some of his Cousins, his inability to move, you have to put some of this pass rush stuff on the quarterback. But I mean, I'm scared of, if I'm Atlanta, I'm definitely scared of Philly's pass rush too.
Richie, what's up, Rich? This is an interesting comment. He said, watch Britton Covey do absolutely nothing on offense, but then returns a punt on special teams.
You do have that out with him too.
You do. That's a legitimate out. Makes me like him more. That's going to be so nice.
You just love this guy after watching him get slaughtered on previous punt returns. He also might get hurt immediately.
Oh, absolutely. Just running in the triple coverage with his head down.
It's a miracle this guy hasn't been hurt before.
He's fun though, isn't he?
He is awesome. Yeah, man. I loved him in college too.
Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Where did you come in on these cheap, I don't know what to call them, flyer pass catchers?
How cheap?
Let's go like the Calcaterra and under range. So like 2,600, 2,500 and under.
Not a ton. Not a ton because I boosted Britton Covey a bit. I know you said under that range, but I have 12% Tyler Algier right now. I have 5% Johnny Wilson, 7% Ray McLeod. So I'm kind of in that range right now. I don't have any Grant Calcaterra.
I accidentally got up to 15%, but I'm going to leave it.
Calcaterra?
Yeah.
Got to take a stand somewhere, right?
I'm actually kind of fine with it. He was on the field more than all those guys.
True. Yeah. They've actually used him downfield at times before too. So you never know. Appreciate you guys. Hey, have a great evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. First look for week 3. I actually took a gander at it this morning. There are 6 games with a sub 40 point total this week, Matt, on Sunday afternoon.
I can't wait. Those are my kind of games.
Yeah, 6 of 12. And then you've just got Arizona and Detroit, which is going to be mega chalk. There's no doubt about it. We'll see.
It's going to be a fun slate.
Yeah, it is. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day, evening. Enjoy the game, and go Birds. Peace.